sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Wisconsin.
It's a beautiful Monday night in Chicago, Illinois. We welcome you. We're on the north side tonight. It's the Cubs and the Brewers. It is game one of this three-game series. They've got postseason aspirations in Wrigleyville this year. Hi, everybody. Brian Anderson along with Bill Schroeder. Great to have you with us tonight. Sophia Minard is our reporter. And big news today. We'll dive into the game here today, but for the first time in 13 years, the Brewers have a change at the general manager position. It's going to be David Stearns, who comes to the Brewers from the Houston Astros organization.
Well, the wheels are in motion now for next year and beyond. You know, Mark Ananazio wanted to get something in place early so the evaluation process could begin. He jumped on Stearns quickly. Other teams interested in Stearns. He's young. He's got a good background in player development, scouting, analytics. That covers just about all the bases that Mark Ananazio is looking for. The evaluation process begins not just on the field, but in the front office, everywhere in the organization. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and it all begins tonight. The Brewers have other news as well. Ryan Braun, he mentioned that he's going to need back surgery at the end of the year, although he is available tonight, believe it or not. We'll tell you all about that a little bit later in our broadcast. Jimmy Nelson also shut down for the rest of the season. So we got a lot of news to bring you, and we got baseball coming your way. It's the Brew Crew and the Cubbies from Wrigley Field tonight.
I'm excited to be here because of the organization. When you do this for a living and you work in baseball operations and you think about becoming a general manager, you do so with the hope that you're going to be able to do it in a place with an extraordinarily passionate fan base, with a knowledgeable fan base, and with an owner and an ownership group that cares about winning and cares about winning consistently and sustainably.
Those are the words from new general manager David Stearns. Earlier today, he hit all the right notes in his introductory press conference this afternoon at Miller Park. And now we turn our attention towards the Brew Crew and the Cubs. And this series is presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. What a beautiful night it is here in Chicago. It's got that touch of fall in the air, and they've got fall baseball coming their way, they hope. Barring a big collapse, the Chicago Cubs are going to be on their way to the postseason this season. Right now they're in the second wild card position. Craig Counsell had a chance to talk to his new boss yesterday, and Counsell and David Stearns and owner Mark Atanasio will be very much connected, and you heard him say it is a partnership moving forward. Here's Counsell's batting order tonight. It's brought to you by Potawatomi. Scooter Gennett will lead off, Logan Schaefer to follow, then Adam Lind. In the middle of the order, it's Chris Davis, Domingo Santana, and Gene Segura. Bottom three, Hernan Perez, Martin Maldonado, and Willie Peralta. And Rock, that's the batting order that is going to face the right-hander Jason Hamill, who comes in with an 8-6 record, by the way, and an 8.73 earned run average.
Yeah, he's not been pitching all that well. Last 11 appearances, a 5.43 earned run average. Got off to a terrific start, this season, but he has been very good against the Brewers. 7-0 in his career in 10 starts, a 2.13 earned run average, and that includes a 2-0 record this year against the Crew.
He is a strike throwing machine, just about a 5-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. We're ready for baseball tonight at Wrigley. And Hamill's first pitch to Scooter Gennett is in there for a strike, and away we go. Scooter coming in, batting .260, has 6 homers, 29 driven in for the year. Hamill missing, 1 ball, 1 strike. Gennett with an on-base percentage at .292. The Brewers don't have that real leadoff threat. They have Gennett and Segura leading off most nights, and both with low on-base percentages. Something I'm sure the Brewers would like to address.
Always difficult to find a leadoff hitter. Every team struggles with that, but when you find one, you don't give them up. Yeah, Brewers with a good game yesterday against Cincinnati, able to score a ton of runs. Kind of an interesting lineup yesterday. A lot of bench players getting into the game and able to pick up a win.
The old bomb squad was in there yesterday and beating the Reds, snapping an 8-game losing streak with an 8-4 win yesterday. Ariel Pena got the win yesterday for the Crew. His second win as a big leaguer, and both of them coming against Cincinnati. 3-2 pitch to Gennett, and a swing and a line drive base hit. Clean single to start it for Scooter Gennett. And Rock, how about the Cubs defensively, courtesy of Menards?
Yeah, Cubs in the bottom third in the National League in defense. They've committed 101 errors this year. You can see how they line up. Schwarber, Fowler, and Coghlan in the outfield. You have Bryant, Russell, and Castro, with Anthony Rizzo at first base and Miguel Montero behind home plate. Fourth most errors in the National League, 101.
Now the Cubs coming off a very important series this weekend, taking 2 out of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals. They had a heated series, a lot of back and forth. Joe Madden was front and central on all of that, and speaking his mind on the Chicago Cubs. They had a number of ejections, some beanball incidents in that series against the Cardinals, but the Cubs have certainly announced their presence in not only this pennant race, but a potential postseason matchup.
I want to go toe-to-toe with the Cardinals. Won't be taken advantage of for sure, and that all starts with the manager. And we mentioned that Hamill's been scuffing a little bit, and the last 11 starts have not been all that great, including his last at Pittsburgh. A no decision, 3 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 4 runs.
He's done his best pitching against the Brewers this year. Against Milwaukee in 4 starts, an ERA of 2.59. Cubs picked him up last year, traded from the A's to Chicago, and here he is right in the middle of a pennant race and an important piece in their rotation. 2 balls, no strikes. Logan Schaefer rips one to right field, a base hit. And Jeanette will make the turn. He'll head to third base. So the top of the Brewers order getting on tonight. Back-to-back singles by the 2 left-handed hitters. And that'll bring up Adam Lind. Big news day aside from the announcement of the new general manager. Ryan Braun is also out, and Ryan Braun talked to us before the game. He is going to require off-season back surgery. That is big news, but yet he's still available. Sophia Minnitt's down there, and she can explain how that is even possible. Sophia?
That's right. Ryan Braun missing his 3rd straight game with that back injury. Revealing today, he said he has a pretty significantly herniated disc, which will require surgery in the offseason, as you said. And he said right now it's just a matter of risk versus reward. He said as it stands now, the recovery would probably be a month. But he said if the injury worsens, you're looking at could be several months. So he wants to arrive at spring training at full strength. So it's a matter of managing the injury now so that it doesn't get worse. So he's going to continue to be day-to-day, still hopeful to play this season.
All right, thanks, Sophia. And Rock, I asked him, well, why not just shut it down for the year? He goes, it's not something I know when it's getting to the point where I can't play.
Right.
And some days it feels good. The inflammation's down in that area, and there's not the irritation in that herniated disc. And that's when I don't play. So obviously that came up today because he's not in the lineup, but he's not really wanting to shut down the season yet.
He wants to keep going. He said, I feel good at the plate. I think that things have been going well personally, and he knows how important he is in that lineup. And the Brewers are in a position to do some damage in this pennant race. 3 games here in Chicago, then they go to St. Louis. So he wants to try and help the Brewers win some games.
Now with Braun out of the lineup, Adam Lind hits 3rd. And he's up there in an RBI situation early.
That's the thing with those back things. The discs. I think he was saying it was an L4 down in the back where he feels uncomfortable. But some days he's going to wake up. It's going to feel good. He says he's going to play. Just depends on how he feels when he gets to the ballpark.
That is a longevity injury. Not something he did on a particular swing or a slide. As Hamill rings the bell on Lind. He didn't like that call from home plate umpire Mike Easterbrook, but down he goes.
And the backdoor slider catching the outside corner. You're going to see a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders from Jason Hamill. And this one right here, it looked like a little too close to take with 2 strikes.
So a strikeout leaves runners at 1st and 3rd for Chris Davis. Davis second on the club in home runs with 22. Trailing Ryan Braun, who's at 25. Davis has a chance to lead the team in homers if Braun's going to be in and out of the lineup. Thing about Davis, he's doing it in much fewer at-bats. His home run percentage is sky high right now. And since August 6th, Davis is homering about every 9 at-bats, which is best in the major leagues.
And wind blowing out the left, so right-handed hitters are going to like that tonight. Won't carry like it does in the summertime. A little bit cool here, but it is blowing out the left.
That temperature is supposed to be dropping into the 50s, the high 50s tonight. 2 on, 1st and 3rd. Back-to-back singles by Jeanette and Schaefer. And Davis trying to put the Brewers on the board in the 1st. As Hamill deals low. And Davis able to check his swing. This is a big series for the Cubs, coming off their series win at home against the Cardinals. Cubs open play today, 6 games back of St. Louis in the Central Division race. Joe Maddon's team is just 2 games behind the Pittsburgh Pirates for the top wild card spot. That means you get to host the wild card game, the winner go home wild card game. Madden's been in it before. He was in there with the Rays a couple of years ago, and he was the road team in Cleveland, and they won that game and entered into the division series. But that's the way the division maps out. That's certainly what everybody wants, because you go straight into the best of 5 series.
And he's made a big difference in this organization, no doubt. Not just the players, just the general culture around here.
And Hamill throws it away on a pickoff. This is going to bring a run in, and Schaefer all the way around to third base. So Hamill on a pickoff commits an error that not only leads to a run, but puts another runner at third base with just one out.
There's that defense again. Now 102 errors, near the bottom of the National League. It's interesting, though, when you look at the defense, team defense, two teams in the National League Central, Pittsburgh and Chicago, very poor defensively. There's another example of it right there. And Hamill's able to give a gift-wrapped a run for the Brew Crew. That's not even close. And so Jeanette able to score on the error, and Schaefer all the way to third base.
And there's a strike on Davis. That is the first error of the year for Jason Hamill, who usually takes care of all of his business around the mound. He's a good fielder, gets a lot of ground balls, accurate thrower to bases, holds runners well, but his first error leads to a run. And now Davis fouls this one away.
But it is unusual to have two teams that look like they're going to the postseason and have played very poorly defensively. That doesn't go hand in hand with winning baseball.
Well, the Cubs just want to outslug you. They've got a great pitching staff. They're top 5 in runs scored as an offense, and they're top 5 in earned run average as a pitching staff. So they've got the two other categories handled. As a pitching staff, the Cubs come in tonight with the 5th best ERA, the 5th fewest home runs allowed. They lead the National League in strikeouts and are in the top 4 in the league in walks allowed. So a team that doesn't give you many base runners, but they have the strikeout ability to get out of jams.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get the strikeouts and you can eliminate or avoid some of the runs because of the errors.
And that is back-to-back strikeouts. The second out of the inning. Schaefer's still at third base.
Yeah, slider way off the outside corner. Got to make this guy throw strikes. You can see that not even close. He's only got 39 walks so far this year to go along with 161 strikeouts, including the 2 in this inning.
Here's Domingo Santana. And he had a target today for us to chat with. The announcement of the new general manager, David Stern. Santana's the only guy that knows him. He was in the organization with the Astros. And high praise for him, and a line shot, base hit back up the middle. A 2-out RBI for Santana, and the Brewers lead it 2-0 in the first.
Yeah, picking up right where they left off in yesterday's game at home against Cincinnati. Swinging the bats well. Yeah, Jeanette, Schaefer, now Santana with base hits. 3 hits in the inning and 2 runs in. Benefit or helped by an error by the pitcher. Bullet into center field.
Santana's swinging a hot bat. He had 7 hits on the homestand. Had a 5 RBI game on the homestand against Cincinnati. And a big 2-out RBI early here tonight. After a couple of strikeouts, Hamill sitting there with a chance to get out of the inning with no further damage.
Such a quick bat for Santana. That bat just in and out of the strike zone very quickly. It's all about timing for him, and right now he's seeing it pretty well. Timing's been good.
Santana takes off, swing and a miss. Segura throw to second way late. Santana had a big jump, steals second base.
And from his knees, and not able to get up and make a strong throw. And Montero throwing out runners at a 19% clip. That's below average. He stole that one on Hamill.
So a runner at second. 3 hits in the inning, 2 runs are in. And a throwing error by the pitcher on a pickoff attempt. Segura batting in the 6th spot tonight. And that one's on the ground. The sure-handed Russell makes a play to end the inning. But the Brewers get a pair. Good start tonight. 2 on the board in the first. Now the Cubs are coming up against Peralta. Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers. It's Miller time. Monday night, Wrigley Field, Chicago. And the Brewers and the Cubs tonight. Brewers have a 2-0 lead out of the gates quickly. Joe Maddon's lineup: Fowler, Schwarber, and Bryant at the top. He's got Rizzo, Castro, and Montero in the middle. Addison Russell, Jason Hamill. The pitcher bats 8th. Chris Coughlin will bat 9th. And Willie Peralta ready to go. First ball swinging. Fowler sends one deep to center field, but it's a cool night at Wrigley. And that one goes to die.
Sounded pretty good off the bat. Hey, Willie looking for a strong finish to his season. You can see start number 20 missed 2 months on the disabled list with an oblique injury, a 441 earned run average. Looking to bounce back from a tough game against St. Louis Cardinals at home. He picked up a loss, 4 innings, 6 hits. 3 of those 6 hits home runs, and gave up 5 runs.
And that'll bring up Kyle Schwarber now. Schwarber's been a mainstay in the second spot in that batting order, hitting in front of Rizzo or Bryant. It's recently been Bryant. And both are having monster years, Bryant and Rizzo. And Schwarber has done his part. 246 batting average, but 16 homers and 42 driven in as he lines one to center field. And Schaefer is right there to make the play.
A couple of hard hit balls to start this game. Both of them outs. Hey, let's check out the Menards Brewers defense for tonight. You got Davis, Schaefer, and Santana in the outfield. Logan Schaefer's made some nice plays out in center field when he gets some starts. Perez, Segura, Jeanette, and Lind in the infield, and Maldonado behind home plate.
Chris Bryant, what a year he is having. 25 homers, 95 runs batted in. Both of those numbers lead all National League rookies. He looks like he's on his way to a Rookie of the Year this season. An 865 OPS as well. That leads all rookies. Just jump off the page at you, the kind of year that he's had. It was mid-April when they called him up. And those 25 homers and 95 RBIs, while they top the rookies, they're also among league leaders in the National League, in top 10 in those categories.
He's hit some big home runs, driven in some big runs for the Cubs. One of the big reasons why they're headed to the postseason this year.
Cubs have not had a rookie hit 25 homers in a season since Billy Williams back in 1961. 1-2 pitch taken outside. 2-2 the count. Well, the National League RBI leaders, you'll find Bryant and Rizzo both with 95 runs batted in. They are tied for 4th in that category. Nolan Arenado leads the way from the Colorado Rockies.
Arenado leading in home runs and RBIs.
Unfortunately, he's putting up those numbers in a Bryce Harper year. Bryce Harper looking like a runaway train for the MVP award with 2 weeks to play.
Actually, Harper's leading in home runs. My mistake. Arenado's second.
3-2 pitch, whistled foul. Gives you an idea of the talent, the bat speed, the hand-eye coordination of Chris Bryant. That's a 95-mile-an-hour sinking fastball, and Bryant able to pull it foul with 2 strikes.
Pulls the hands in and able to get the barrel of the bat on it.
3-2 pitch. High fly ball into center field. Easy enough. Santana will make the play, and that's a good inning for Peralta. Brewers got 2 in the top of the first. Peralta with a 3 up, 3 down, bottom of the first. Second inning. Everybody's in evaluation mode now. New general manager in place. We welcome David Stearns, his fiancee Whitney. And they're on their way to Milwaukee. We'll be putting down roots in Wisconsin. The 9th general manager in franchise history and the first general manager change since the 2002 season when Doug Melvin took over. So it's been 13 years.
And it took over Dean Taylor.
Hernan Perez leads off for Milwaukee. And Rock, you've been a part of 4 regime changes in your career as a Brewer. 1 as a player, 3 as a broadcaster. And talk a little bit about what's ahead, you think, for the new general manager and then the rest of the organization.
Yeah, well, there's really nothing different for these players. I mean, every one of these players, just about every one of them, has been in evaluation mode all season long. These young guys, you know, Perez and Santana, the list goes on with, you know, and the pitching, and trying to figure out what they have for next year. But you know, Mark Atanasio very committed to, you know, getting a young analytical type, and you know, David Stearns, a highly sought after assistant general manager with the Houston Astros. I think the Astros always knew he was going to be a GM someday. Didn't think it was going to be this quickly. And I think you know, Mark jumped on Stearns quickly because he knew other teams were very interested in him, and he wanted to get ahead of the curve. So a shrewd move by Mark. So you know, the evaluation process is underway here in Milwaukee.
We'll have to reorganize his baseball operations department. Don't know how many changes are coming or where the changes will be or additions that are coming. David did say today that Doug Melvin will be a part of the organization in an advisory role.
Yeah, but for the players, they don't think about it too much. I mean, you know, these guys, you know, it's going to come down to how they perform, and you know, I think they've been putting a good effort out, you know, in the month of September. You know, guys that have been given an opportunity to play have been performing pretty well. You know, Ryan Braun has said as much. He's excited about some of the young players, and we'll see how David Stearns evaluates it.
We're looking forward to meeting David and having him on our telecast. He did do a pregame show with us today. Thanks to Telly Hughes for making his way to Miller Park for that press conference. Good to hear from David Stearns. And he hit all the right notes, said all the right things in his press conference. The history of general managers for the Brewers franchise history starting in 1969. Remember, that was in Seattle. The Pilots moved to Milwaukee for the 1970 season. Frank Lane briefly, Jim Wilson briefly, Jim Ballmer briefly, and then you had a little bit of stability with Harry Dalton and Sal Bando.
Harry Dalton got the Brewers to the World Series.
But for Doug Melvin, 13 years as the general manager of the team, will still stay on in an advisory role. As I mentioned, that is a terrific run, and the Brewers were able to get to the postseason twice. Complete rebuild in the Doug Melvin era as well from the time he took over.
Yeah, tremendous job by Doug. I mean, he should tip his hat to what he was able to do. And you know, Mark Atanasio came on board, injected some money into the program, and you know, Doug able to put together a winning organization.
Well, I like what Craig Counsell said before the game. They asked him about the change, about the new addition, and he said it's just an important piece. Now the drive forward can begin. You know, as you're trying to recover from what has been just a dreadful season on the field. The Brewers did strike, and they took the opportunity to trade some name players away, and they have bolstered their minor league system. David Stearns probably had no way of knowing or any idea that the 4 players from the Astros, when he was working as the assistant general manager there, trading those 4 players in the Gomez Fires deal, now he's going to end up being their boss once again, and that move has certainly helped. Peralta sends one deep to center field. Fowler drops it. Peralta on his way to second, and he'll be in there, but Fowler very casually running after that one, and it looked like he had it lined up in and out of his glove. And Peralta will reach.
He's kind of drifting after it, thinking that he had that one easily, but he got there. It wasn't one of those where he was busting it to the spot. He just kind of drifted out there. It's going to be an error on Fowler. And that's the Cubs' 5th error in the last 4 games. And again, it's tough to win games. See, kind of drifting, not running all that hard, goes right off the end of the glove, and that'll be an error. And one that he should have had in his sleep, but ends up dropping it.
I'll see if Jeanette can cash in on it here. You've got Peralta at second. It's a 2-out error. And back to the top of the order, Jeanette, who singled his last time up.
Can't make those mistakes in the postseason. No, they'll catch up to you. Regular season, you might be able to get away with it, but you get into the postseason, you start kicking the ball around, you're going to lose. 2 errors for the Cubs.
Hamill committed the first one, made one of those runs unearned in the first inning. That was on a pickoff attempt. Hamill's got good stuff. He doesn't overpower you like a John Lester or a Jake Arrieta. But he's around the strike zone. He sinks it. Got a good changeup. Good breaking ball.
Got a strikeout to walk ratio about 4-1. Excellent.
1 ball, 1 strike. Jeanette shows bunt again. Bunts it foul. Hamill typically, when he's right, gets ahead in the count. He has not been ahead much tonight. He's faced 10 batters. He's only thrown first pitch strikes twice.
Yeah, which is why the Brewers have been able to put up a couple of runs.
Just missed.
Same pitch that Adam Lynn was rung up on. Maybe a little bit off the corner. He likes that backdoor slider. It's a tough pitch to throw for a right-hander to catch that outside edge. Didn't miss by much.
Scooter with a single to right, sharply hit ball to start the ball game tonight. Hamill had 25 pitches in the first inning. Got the first 2 outs this inning on just 7 pitches. But after that error, this inning continues for him. Slow roller. Russell scoops it and takes care of Jeanette to end the inning. Second Cubs error. This time it does not lead to a run. We head to the bottom of the second inning. Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. By Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. And by Hupy and Abraham, 800-800-5678. Hupy and Abraham, tell them you mean business. Under the lights of Wrigley Field, they've been playing night games here since 1988. And the Brewers lead it 2-0. Willie Peralta getting his warm-ups in as he gets ready to start the second inning. There is news on the starting pitcher front concerning Jimmy Nelson, and we check in with Sophia for more on that story.
Jimmy Nelson saw a neurologist earlier today in Milwaukee, and the decision was made by the neurologist and the team to shut down Jimmy Nelson for the season. The decision being that it was just not worth the risk, that despite there not being a concussion when Jimmy was hit in the head by the line drive Thursday night against St. Louis, there is still head trauma there, and so they decided that they just didn't want to take the risk. So shortly after the injury, and just viewed the risk as being too great. So he'll finish his season with an 11-13 record, earned run average 4.11, and he made 30 starts for the team this year. Tyler Cravey will get the start tomorrow, all bullpen start for them, and they have not yet made a decision who will take Jimmy Nelson's turn in Sunday in St. Louis.
All right, Sophia, thanks. Yeah, Sophia's been busy today. Big news cycle going on with the Brewers. And, you know, for Jimmy Nelson, that's okay. The season ends. I'm sure he would rather finish the season, but he made 30 starts. He goes 177 plus innings. So he's in a position next year to certainly get to that 200 innings pitched number. And if he's pitching well, he'll certainly have a chance to do that. So no shutdown for Jimmy Nelson if the Brewers do jump back in a pennant race next year. And that's going to be a guy that the Brewers know is going to help take them there.
So two starting pitchers for the Brewers that have been shut down. No more pitching. You know, Matt Garza a while ago, and now Jimmy Nelson. But Jimmy had a nice run. I mean, after the All-Star break, really threw the baseball well. Got his record up above 500. Started out 3-8, but after that, really went on a nice run and won some games. Looked good.
3-1 to Anthony Rizzo and a grounder foul. Rizzo having a special year here at Wrigley once again. 30 homers last year. He's got 30 homers this year. 95 runs batted in. He's played in every game but one. Currently 5th in the National League in home runs. And he has a very good eye as well. Takes the walk. It's a leadoff walk. And Peralta will go into the stretch for the first time.
You got to be careful with Anthony Rizzo, particularly Brewer pitching. He has had a very good season against Milwaukee this year. So, yeah, put him on. At least you know he's at first base. He's not going to be able to take you deep. He's hit a number of homers against Brewers pitching this year.
Starlin Castro. The resurgence of Starlin Castro has been big news here with the Cubs. He's swinging the bat very well. He looks like his old self, his all-star self. He's only 25 years of age. That's one thing you have to keep in mind with Starlin Castro. He's just been around since he was 20.
Last time the Brewers were here, he was benched. Wasn't starting. Chris Calgon was over at second base. He's moved from short to second, Addison Russell to third, and man, very happy with that.
Castro in his last 24 games, so about a month's worth of games, he's hitting .403. And he rips one into the gap left center field. That's all the way to the ivy. Rizzo on his way to third. Here comes the throw. They're going to wave him on. Segura's throwing to the plate. Right there, but Maldonado bobbles on a tough short hop, and Rizzo scores. A good throw, and the Brewers are going to get him. Instead, Castro all the way to third on an RBI double.
Yeah, tough hop for Maldonado to handle. That's a good throw. Good arm strength by Gene Segura. Just a tough hop for Maldonado to be able to get in the glove and swipe the tag. That's a fastball right down the middle of the plate. Now check out Segura. He gets his momentum going toward home plate. The ball skips. I think the grass is a little bit damp from doing the grass, and it just kind of stayed down on Maldonado. So an RBI for Castro, and he ends up at third base.
Castro continues his hot hitting. Here's Miguel Montero now. And this is where the depth of the Cubs lineup really starts to show as you take a look at that throw by Segura. Yeah, that's tough to handle. That actually hit Maldonado in the arm.
Yeah, it actually hit on the dirt, but I'll tell you, that's a tough hop. That in-between hop with something on it like that. You either give him a short hop or a long hop, not the in-between hop. Those are tough.
Cubs, one of the most productive offenses in the major leagues this year. They lead the league in walks as a team. They do strike out a lot, and they have the lowest team batting average, but they slug like crazy. A lot of extra base hits, a lot of home runs, and they have the home run threat up and down their lineup.
Yeah, they've got a lot of length in that batting order for sure. Russell behind Montero. You got the pitcher batting 8th. Coughlin, pretty good hitter in the 9th spot.
Joe Madden bats his pitcher 8th.
Relentless lineup.
Montero, a wave and a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the former Arizona Diamondback. Was an all-star with the Diamondbacks. Traded to the Cubs, and he's a offensive-minded catcher. And a swing and a miss. Peralta strikes him out. So went with the off-speed back-to-back pitches. A changeup from Peralta.
That's a good one. I think back-to-back changeup, something that he doesn't do a whole lot of, but against lefties he will break that changeup out. There's the grip. Had a little bit of movement on it right down the middle, and Montero out in front. Good pitch.
Great look at how he holds the changeup. So the first out, still a runner at third. Here's Addison Russell. Last time we saw the Cubs, Russell, who's taken over as the everyday shortstop, was batting 9th, and Joe Madden saying there's really 2 spots to develop a hitter. The 2nd spot in the order and the 9th spot in a National League lineup. You can hit your pitcher 8th. Takes a lot of pressure off a young hitter. I mean, for years, you see managers stick their youngest, most inexperienced hitter in the 8th spot in the order, the last place spot for the position players. But that 8th spot can be a very difficult place to hit.
Well, right now it's the 7th spot to be difficult because the pitcher's in the 8th spot.
Right. So now that he's got him work through the inexperience, he's hitting in front of that pitcher, but in the 7th spot in the lineup.
So doing exactly what he didn't want to do, having him bat in front of the pitcher.
It all depends on when you catch Joe Madden. And he does draw the walk. So that'll set up a double play chance with the pitcher coming up. And we'll see if Hamill is up there to try to bunt the runner.
And the reason that that spot in the batting order in front of the pitcher is so tough on a young hitter, because a lot of times pitchers will work around you. You got to be patient at the plate. So if you're coming up from the minor leagues and you're considered a free swing, you're trying to understand your strike zone. That could be a difficult spot for a young hitter. A lot of hitters hate it, that number 8 spot in front of the pitcher. Remember J.J. Hardy couldn't stand it.
Right. And if you're Joe Madden, it's a psychological sleight of hand. Hamill gets a bunt down, runner coming home, stops. Now Peralta throws to Perez, and Castro is out. So Castro did not play that one so well, and good job by Gene Segura coming across. And he was at third base. I think Castro was surprised there was a defender over there.
Yeah, Segura's busting it over to third base, but Perez is able to get back on his own. The safety squeeze, and that's certainly not one you're going to try and score on. Right back to the pitcher. Perez doing a nice job getting back and putting the tag on Castro. Not good base running by Starlin Castro. That was a failed attempt from the beginning.
Now the idea is you trail the third baseman coming in, but you have to be behind him.
You got to read the bunt. It's got to be a good bunt down the lines or something, not right at the pitcher.
So that's the 2nd out. Here's Coughlin now with 2 on.
Safety squeeze, you don't have to go. You got to read it off the bat and then take off, or get back to third.
Peralta has a chance to get out of this inning. Base running mistake by Castro after his RBI double. Coghlan takes low and in. This Cubs offense has been churning along very well after the Cole Hamels no-hitter here at Wrigley Field. That was on July 25th. So beginning July 26th, the Cubs are averaging almost 6 runs per game at Wrigley. Cubs have a very good home record. Coming into play, 45 wins here at Wrigley. They're 45-29. They're 9 games over on the road.
Just a good team, and I think made even better with the manager that they have in that dugout. Does things differently from time to time. He'll shake it up. I was talking to Joe Madden around a batting cage today, and he told me that today was the first time in 3 weeks that they actually took batting practice on the field. He believes in giving his guys an opportunity to just relax and, you know, take a breather once in a while. That's unusual.
Yeah, it is. He calls them American Legion days, where you just show up and play.
Well, I mean, he's done it consistently here in September. I mean, it's been very unusual to see the Cubs take BP on the field.
Well, players are refreshed. There's a pickoff play back in time. Is Russell. That was close.
3 weeks might have been exaggerating it to me, but you know, again, I think the point is that you don't. He doesn't feel like at this point in the season, guys need to swing as much as they do.
No, he was known when he was managing the Rays. He would fine guys for showing up before 4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game. Players want to get there early. Usually, you'll see players start filtering in about 1:30, 2 o'clock even. Coghlan draws the walk. Well, Peralta walking the tightrope here. He still has a chance to get out of it, but the bases are loaded now. It's the 3rd walk of the inning. And back to the top of the order in Dexter Fowler.
And the one thing the Brewers could use tonight is a nice long start. They haven't had one in some time. And that really puts the pressure on a bullpen that's already a little bit short because Cravey's going to make a start tomorrow. He's not available in the pen.
And the Brewers have that hole where Jimmy Nelson was located. Fowler again on the first pitch. Fouls this one away. Well, the good news is the Brewers AA team, the Biloxi Shuckers, are playing the final game of the season. It's a winner go home. Well, they're all going to go home, but it's a winner take all. Game 5 in the Southern League Championship, and Sophia will be keeping an eye on that game. But as it pertains to the big league club, there are a number of candidates, a number of possibilities that could come to Milwaukee.
So they all might not be going home.
They might be anxious to get that one over with if they've got a big league extension coming their way. Well, we wish them luck. Biloxi playing tonight, Chattanooga. And that series is all tied at 2 apiece. 2 balls and a strike on Fowler. Bases loaded, full of Cubs. Ground ball up the middle, hits the bag. 1 run is in. Russell coming around third. On his way home is Hamill. The throw to second, out. And wave off the second run, the out at second prior to the run scoring. So just 1 in.
Fowler wants Joe Madden to take a look at it. And Joe's going to come out on the front of the dugout to give his guys an opportunity to take a look at it, see if he was out or safe. That's a big call because it's a run.
Well, I think, first of all, Madden wants to challenge whether this was safe or out at second base. And it looks like he was safe.
Yeah.
So it might not matter what happened or the timing of it. That'll be the first thing that will determine what happens the rest of this inning.
It looked like that foot got in there just in front of the tag, and that means Fowler's safe and a run is in.
I tell you, this crowd is a live wire crowd at Wrigley. They are ready for a postseason here. This is as loud as this ballpark has been in a few years. So the crew chief is Dana DeMuth in the near shot, and the calling umpire is Paul Nart, who is facing us. And it'll be Dana DeMuth who makes the call here once he gets word from the replay challenge center in New York. And there's a regular crew of umpires there, and an umpire assigned to this game who's checking out this replay, and he'll pass along his verdict. That's why you can't argue, by the way. You cannot argue a replay result, because who are you going to argue with?
Right.
You can put the headset on, I suppose.
That's coming.
I'm waiting for somebody to do that.
That's going to happen.
I think Buck Showalter got close once. He walked over there towards the headset last year.
Yeah, giving it a nice long look over there in New York. It looked like Fowler was safe. But maybe another angle, he might be out. Now we're right on top of it. Right there. You know, the dirt is kicked up, so maybe they're trying to get a definitive look as to when the foot actually hit the bag.
Tough call. I mean, it certainly looks like something is jarring the foot, you know, the base, or whether there's, if he stops short. A lot of times runners will stop short in a pop-up slide. But we'll see how they're going to rule it. I guess the major question is there enough evidence to
the other thing they might be looking
overturn
at
it?
is did Hamill score before the out was made? Maybe they're looking at that as well if they're going to call him out.
All right, here we go. What do we have? Safe, and the run scores. So Fowler is into second base. Joe Madden is irate that they missed it in the first place. The manager is intense, the players are intense, the crowd's intense, and that's the way it should be. So that's going to be a 2 RBI double for Dexter Fowler, and the Cubs have a 3-2 lead now. Schwarber takes a ball. Schwarber lined out to center field in the first inning, hit the ball sharply, and he's late on that off-speed pitch from Peralta.
Well, it's been the walks that have hurt Willie in this inning. 3 walks, 2 of them have come around to score already, and you know, the 3 walks have extended the inning, allowing Fowler to hit that double to drive in 2. Base on balls, particularly leadoff walks. Never a good start.
Liner right field. Santana almost misplayed it. Has to make a leaping catch on his backhand side to haul that one in. Man, 3-run score for the Cubs. Long inning. 3-2. And it's now time for you to tweet us your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag WisDataStrongFan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. And it's brought to you by T-Mobile. Great to have you with us tonight under the lights at Wrigley on a beautiful Monday night. Brewers jumped out 2-0. 2 runs in the first. Schaefer was part of that. Had a single and a run scored. But Willie Peralta walks 3 and gives up 2 hits in the second inning. Dexter Fowler with a 2 RBI double. That went to a challenge. Schaefer will start it. He's been swinging the bat well since coming back from the minor leagues. Started the year with the Brewers. Wasn't playing much and wasn't hitting much. So he went back to AAA, and at AAA Colorado Springs he started to play every day for the most part.
And he's been given a number of opportunities at the big league level because he's such a good center fielder. Not too many better on this Brewers roster, even when Gomez was here. Very smooth in the outfield. That's what's given him many opportunities, and he's starting to hit.
Gomez and Gerardo Parra both traded. Parra to the Orioles, Gomez to the Astros. That opened the door for Schaefer, who was called back up on the trade deadline day from AAA. Down in AAA, he hit .258 and 3 stolen bases. He was with the ball club from opening day until early May. So he spent about 2.5 months with the AAA club. And tonight he's making his 17th start for the Brew Crew, and a swing and a foul tip right into the mitt of Montero. That's a strikeout and the first out for Hamels.
Hey, NL Central rivals collide in the weekend series at Miller Park Friday, October 2nd through Sunday the 4th. It's the Brewers and Cubs. They wrap up the 2015 regular season with the battle in Milwaukee. Reserve your spot today at brewers.com/tickets. The Cubbies in for a 3-game series to end the year.
Well, that ought to be fun. Cubs are open. That means something. One step at a time for the Cubs. Right now they're trying to catch the Pirates for that top wild card spot, which gets you a home game. And although 4 of the 6 road teams in the 1-game wild card play-in have won, I think the Cubs would be a little bit of a different story here at Wrigley Field. That's the wild card situation. It's a 2-horse race. Not mathematically, but realistically. Pirates Cubs. In which order, we don't know yet. Adam Lind rolls to second. Oh my goodness. Just booted by Castro. Lind's on his way to second base. And good hustle by Adam Lind.
What's going on out there with the Cubs? Maybe a little bit of a letdown after the big weekend series against the Cardinals. 3 errors now. And 2 of them relatively routine plays. One by Fowler in center. This one, not sure what happened here with Castro. These are things that drive you nuts about Starlin Castro. He backed up on it, couldn't play the hop. And into right field. Boy, looking bad.
That ties a season high for errors in a game, and we're only in the 3rd inning for the Cubs. That's 3 errors already. Cubs have committed errors in 5 consecutive games.
And 3 straight innings.
Brewers cashed in on the first one. Could not on the error last inning. And now Davis is up with Lind at second base. That will stay fair. Had unusual spin on it, and Bryant makes the play for the out. That thing looked like it was going to easily roll foul, but must have hit a seam or something. I'm not sure exactly what, but it took a right turn.
He stuck with it right over the bag, and Bryant was ready for it. Made a good throw to first base. So we've seen a lot of poor defense and a good play by Bryant that time to get the out.
Did you catch the song from the organ player right there?
I did not.
Johnny Cash's "I Walk the Line."
Yeah, see, that's good. Organist is on it. He's no Dean Roscoe, but pretty good work.
Here's Domingo Santana. He drove in a run with a 2-out RBI in the first inning. Well, Santana's had a nice year. You combine all of his stops. AAA with the Brewers and the Astros. Big leagues with the Astros, and his time here in Milwaukee. Santana had a wild ride last inning. All that matters is the out. It's worth another look. Columbia St. Mary's. If you just start the replay from that point on, it looks awesome.
They charged it. Schwarber smoked it.
He'll take it.
It never dropped. It just kept carrying, and he had to make a good catch.
An F9 is an F9 is an F9. What a talent he is. If you combine all of his stops, he's hit 26 homers this year. 94 runs batted in. And he's hit over 300 in all those stops.
That's a good year no matter where you at. And moving around like he has, it makes it even more difficult. You know, get that comfort level. Of course, you never mind going from AAA to the big leagues. It's the other way around. It bugs you a little bit.
That's when you take your full 3 days to report. There's a called strike on Santana. In Santana's time as a Brewer, and this is game number 27 for him, has an OPS near 960. He's hit 6 home runs, and he's driven in 18. Most of his homers into right center. A wave and a miss. He'll do that too. A strikeout for Santana ends the inning. Hamill works around an error. Fox Sports Wisconsin is proud to partner with Girls on the Run Greater Milwaukee, a program to empower girls to be healthy and confident. Join us for the Girls on the Run Fall 5K on Sunday, November 15th at Bayshore Town Center in Glendale. And to register, visit foxsportswisconsin.com. Click on the upcoming events tab. Chris Bryant, first ball swinging. Line drive into center field, and the Cubs back at it against Willie Peralta. Willie had a 3-up 3-down first inning on 10 pitches. Walked 3, gave up 2 hits in the second inning, and now a leadoff single in the third.
Having a difficult time with command. I mean, you know, if it's not on the corners, it's right down the middle, and when he's trying to catch the corner with it, it's finding itself off the plate with the 3 walks last inning, and that one right down the middle.
Sets up Anthony Rizzo. Brewers put a shift on for Rizzo. They put 3 infielders on the right side. The lone infielder on the left side is the third baseman Perez.
They have Schaefer shaded toward left.
Ground balls are pulled, and line drives and outfield hits are pretty much straight away, but he's got tremendous gap power into left center.
Yep, line to line in the outfield. There's really no one way to play him. Perez is playing where the shortstop normally is. They're giving him the bunt down the third baseline.
Another line drive. Rizzo back up the middle. Bryant will stop at second. Back-to-back bullets by Bryant and Rizzo, and 2 men are on now.
Been a lot of hard,
third inning.
Been a lot of hard hit balls off of Willie tonight. Even some of the outs. That one down the middle and a little bit above the knees. Rizzo likes the ball down. Stands right on top of home plate and hits it hard into center. Really can't get the location right tonight.
It's just been a tough year for Peralta. Spent 2 months on the disabled list with an oblique injury. Actually went on the DL with an oblique injury on one side, and then as he was coming back, he injured the other side. And he was supposed to miss 1 start. He ended up missing 2 months, and he really hasn't been able to get back on track since. Starlin Castro with 2 on.
You see hitters spitting into the gloves to try and get some moisture to get the grip. You know, when it's cool outside, those gloves have a tendency to dry out. They don't give you a whole lot of, you know, grip with those gloves on the bat when they're dry like that.
Peralta hits Castro. The Cubs lead the National League as a team, getting hit by pitches. And Castro waves off Joe Madden and the athletic trainer, and he'll head to first base. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball that hits Starlin Castro to load the bases here in the third inning.
Yeah, 69th time the Cubs have been hit by a pitch. And that one's going to hurt. That one got him on the inside of the leg. And those hurt there. There's not a whole lot of meat right there. I mean, especially when you're trying to get out of the way. The outside of the leg a little bit easier to deal with. But the inside of the leg, those are going to hurt.
That's fortunate that wasn't up a few inches higher. Caught him on the back leg. So Peralta in all kinds of trouble here as he deals strike 1 to Montero. Brewers are having a hard time getting 5 innings out of a starter. Little jam shot right to Segura. He thought about dropping it on purpose, but everybody was back.
Not an infield fly on a line drive.
Always makes sense after the fact, but when you're in the heat of it, right, you just get the out.
Just catch it. Just catch it. Try not to make matters worse. Of course, you can't catch it and then drop it. There's a trick to it. You can't really squeeze it. You got to just knock it down, and no telling what can happen after that.
There's a strike to Addison Russell. Now here's the way out of the inning for Peralta. He's got the pitcher coming up next. Remember, the Cubs pitcher bats 8th. Bases loaded, 1 out. If he can retire Russell, then you'd have Hamill to deal with, and Peralta has a chance to get out of this mess. Bases loaded, 1 away, and Russell takes a ball. Russell has a very good eye. He is among league leaders. Matter of fact, he's number 1 in the National League in pitches per plate appearance. He sees a little over 4 per plate appearance, 4.15. Very patient hitter.
Which means he's not going to help Willie here. Peralta's going to have to throw him a strike. Got ahead 0-1. He's missed with the last 3.
Got to have it. Nowhere to put him. Bases loaded. And that one missed. Ball 4, and a run is in. And the Cubs take a 4-2 lead.
Yeah, Willie wanted that one. He thought that was a strike, but it looked like it was off the corner. Kurt Krantz is going to come out, calm him down. Yeah, pitch number 5. It was off the outside corner. Good call by Mike Estabrook, but Willie not happy about that call. But it was a ball.
How about those 2 at-bats for Addison Russell? He's walked twice. He's seen 9 pitches. Has not swung the bat once. And he gets an RBI the easy way on a bases loaded walk. So the Cubs lead 4-2, 4 unanswered runs. And let's see if Kranitz' visit to the mound settles Willie Peralta a little bit.
I think that was twofold visit to calm Willie down. He wanted to stay out there long enough for Estabrook to go out to the mound, have a chat with him, ask him where that last pitch was.
That'll bring up Hamill now, the Cubs pitcher. He's not a bad hitter at all. He's hitting 180 this season. He's driven in 4 runs. He's a pitcher at the plate you have to pay attention to, put it that way. He's got a pretty good swing.
Yeah, make a good pitch and get a ground ball and get out of this mess.
Hamill has batted once this year with the bases loaded, and he got a hit. Peralta's got him 1-2. Cubs lead 4-2 now.
Just can't get a strike with that slider tonight, and the Cubs aren't biting. Not even the pitcher.
Ouch. Dropped him. Foul ball right off his foot or leg or something. Went straight down. Any position player does that. Usually don't get the attention of the medical staff, but when you're the starting pitcher, that was right off his back knee.
Inside of the knee.
Oh.
When you hit one off your back knee or your back foot, you know you're pretty far behind the pitch. That would put him right on the ground.
High pitch count for Peralta, as Hamill is all right. Willie's pitching in the 3rd inning here. He has thrown 59 pitches. And a lot of those are high stress pitches. 42 from the stretch. 2-2 to Hamill. Went in there again.
Almost hit himself again.
But this time he was so late that hit missed his back knee. One more pitch.
Hanging right in there, isn't he? 94, 95 with the fastballs, and
he's giving him a good fight.
Yes, he is.
We'll do it again. Another 2-2 pitch. This is pitch number 8 of the at bat coming. Now to Jeanette, and a backhand shovel over to second base, and the Brewers get out of the inning. So that was easy for Willie Peralta after the run came in.
To meet him, I was, we had probably sat together for about an hour. So it's kind of conversation. You just scratch the surface of everything, but it, you want to have a 5-day conversation. But it was great to get to meet him and then start that partnership.
I like the way he said that. Start the partnership. Craig Counsell, first year as a major league manager, and David Stearns taking over in his first year as a general manager. And that's really what it has to be. And the Brewers are trying to establish this model, the relationship between owner and general manager and manager.
Yeah, and that was important for Mark Atanasio, for whoever he picked as the GM, to get along with and work well with Craig Counsell. Because Counsell will be the manager next year. He signed a 3-year contract.
Here's Segura. Finished off the double play off the bat of Hamill after that long battle. Well, that was a real struggle for Willie Peralta. And it's looking like a short night for Peralta once again tonight.
It's one of those nights where he just can't find the breaking ball. He's thrown a couple of change-ups. He got a strikeout on a change-up, but the slider hasn't been able to find home plate. Everything off the corner. And even when you throw in the mid-90s, 94, 95 with sink, if all hitters have to worry about is the fastball, they're going to be able to get good swings.
One and two on Segura. 2-2 the count. Cardinals are in progress tonight in St. Louis. Reds lead them 1-0. That game's in the top of the 5th inning. Pirates have a 3-0 lead in Colorado as Segura strikes out. Hamill with another K, had 2 last inning. That gives him 5 for the game. And it leads us to our Carsoup.com trivia question. Who are the 3 pitchers in MLB history to go unbeaten against the Brewers? Minimum of 10 starts. Never lost to the Brew Crew.
Well, one of them was pitching tonight. We talked about that when the game started.
Hamill's 2-0 this year, 7-0 career.
This is 11th start.
So we got that one covered.
2 more.
One ball, 1 strike on Perez. 1-2 now. Showdown series in Toronto tonight. The Blue Jays and the Yankees. That's going to be one worth following. Blue Jays are up 3-0 on the Yankees in the top of the 7th. There's a line shot, base hit back up the middle for Perez. Hernan keeps hitting. He's done a good job when he's been given the chance.
Using the center of the field, not trying to pull it. And he was able to pick on a 1-ball 2-strike pitch. Hamill making a mistake ahead in the count. Check it out. That ball outer half, and Perez didn't try and pull it, right back through the middle. That ball knuckling as it went out there. There wasn't much rotation as that ball whistled by Hamill.
Here's Maldonado. Now Perez keeps hitting, was in that platoon with Elian Herrera. But Perez figures to get most of the playing time now. That violent collision on the last homestand between Herrera and Shane Peterson. Sophia has an update on Elian. I saw him walking around the clubhouse today. That's a good sign, Sophia.
Yes, that was already significant improvement from yesterday when he was on crutches, could hardly put any pressure on that right leg from that deep right thigh contusion. Said he's still dealing with some significant soreness because of that deep bruise, but he was happy to be up and walking around. Said he's just been doing a lot of standing, sitting. He said he tires easily, so just trying to be as active as he can, but moving slowly.
All right, thanks for that update. A stolen base there for Perez. That was a deep thigh bruise, bone bruise for Herrera. I was talking to head athletic trainer Dan Wright today, and you know, when you walk from the clubhouse to the dugout at Wrigley Field, I mean, that's a solid 30-minute conversation you can get into.
It takes a while.
It's like a full conversation down there.
You got to duck your head. You got to drop breadcrumbs to get back.
But Dan was saying that when they went out there, just the way the impact, it's really difficult to break the femur. But all signs pointed towards a break or a fracture as Maldonado sends one into right center. Fowler catches this one, and Perez will tag and go to third base. That's the second out of the inning. And so the collision was bad enough, and Dan Wright was saying that usually the only time this bone breaks is in a car crash or some kind of major impact trauma, and that would certainly fit the bill. The knee of Peterson came right into the hip, upper thigh of Elian Herrera. So all signs are pointing towards a broken femur, and that's why they were so careful with him, because that is an injury that you have to stabilize the player. And anyway, Herrera never even left the facility. He got an X-ray, and there was no fractures, so significant soreness is going to have him on the shelf for at least a week.
But he's lucky.
He is very fortunate.
After all that, he's lucky. The Brewers are lucky, and chance he might be back before the end of the season. No time frame set, and no timeline set by Dan Wright. Talked to him about that myself.
Did you have a walk with him up the stairs to the clubhouse?
No, I didn't. It was in front of the Brewers dugout.
Oh, I see.
Ilion was there. I asked him how he was doing. He said, doing fine, doing much better. I said, you ready to get back in there? He said, not quite.
0-2 to Peralta. And a swing and a foul. Stays alive.
Herrera playing just about every day and swinging the bat pretty well. The friendly confines of the Brewers visiting clubhouse here at Wrigley.
Yes. Especially in September with the call-ups.
Yeah.
Packed clubhouse. Hamill strikes out Peralta. Strikeout number 6. And the Brewers strand a runner at third base.
Cubs with a 4-2 lead over the Brewers here in the 4th. We're checking in with the Biloxi Shuckers, Game 5 of the Southern League Championship Series, and time is running out for the Shuckers. 4-0. They trail in the bottom of the 7th, and Jorge Lopez, who had been so solid for them throughout the postseason, he had gone 2-0, given up just 1 earned run. He went 3 innings tonight. He allowed those first 3 runs on 5 hits. So the Shuckers looking for a rally here if they want to win the championship.
All right, well, we'll see if the Shucks can come up with a rally tonight. Otherwise, it'll still be a fine season, but will not end in a Southern League title. Jorge Lopez might be a guy we see in the big leagues for the final weeks. We'll see about that. He had a great year. He was the pitcher of the year in the Southern League and in the Brewers minor league system. Chris Coughlin will lead off. Peralta flips a breaking ball in there for strike 1.
Yeah, might get a start the next time that Jimmy Nelson's spot comes around again. Tomorrow it's going to be Tyler Cravey.
If you're just joining us, Jimmy Nelson has been shut down the rest of the year by the neurologist. The risk outweighing the reward, and he's had essentially a full season with 30 starts. Only talking about a couple of starts. So shut him down, call it a year, get ready for 2016.
And a job well done by Jimmy Nelson this year.
Yeah, made significant strides, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Came up with that curveball early in the season and pretty consistent this year.
Coughlin into left field. Got some carry to it, but Davis is there. And the first out. Well, the organization is relying heavily upon Peralta and Nelson. Those are the two that the Brewers hope will emerge as a legitimate 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. Nelson passing Peralta this year on the depth chart, in my mind anyway, just with his Terrific season. Last year, Willie won 17 games. But this year for Peralta was the first time he'd ever gone to the disabled list. And the kind of injury he had, he has not come out of it well. Now, he wasn't pitching all that well going into that stint on the disabled list. Might have been pitching hurt.
Right.
You never know.
Sometimes you have a year like he did last year. You know, you feel as though maybe it comes easy to you. And not to say he let down in the offseason. I'm not saying that at all. But, I mean, this game keeps coming at you every day. And you never have it licked.
High fly ball right field. It's got some hook on it, and that'll end up foul.
You can throw Taylor Youngman into that group that the Brewers are counting on.
Sure. And Matt Garza's coming back. Won't be a whole lot of jobs open in that rotation, you wouldn't think, coming out of the gates, but everybody's got to pitch well to remain. There are a number of young, talented starting pitchers coming in the Brewers system, and they're coming fast.
Yeah. Might not be next year, but maybe the year after.
3-2 pitch. Fowler hits it hard, but right at Lynn. Nice backhand pickup.
And tricky hop, able to handle it. Backhand play by Adam Lynn. Hey, you've got one final chance to sit in the Miller Lite beer pen this Sunday. On Friday, October 2nd, the Brewers take on the Cubs, and all fans 21 and over who sit in the Miller Lite beer pen will get a free Miller Lite Brewers hat. For details, visit brewers.com/beer pen.
What about us? No beer pen sitting for us this year.
Yeah, we're not going. Maybe next year. We'll see. Got to run that one up the flagpole.
That usually comes down. That comes down from the flagpole to us.
Yeah.
But we're just saying we wouldn't mind going out there. Do the first 4 or 5 innings. Call it a night. There's a good inning for Peralta. He needed that one. 3 up, 3 down inning for Willie. Cubs still lead 4-2. One in the third, and we head to the top of the 5th inning. And a reminder that every weekday it's America's pregame. They bring you live reports from the biggest games to get you ready for all the action. Catch America's pregame at 4 p.m. Central, only on FS1. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Our version of Mike and Molly. Jason Hamill back on the mound. He's racked up 6 strikeouts through the first 4 innings. Top of the Brewers order coming up. Scooter Gennett leads off. Gennett, Schaefer, and Lind. First 3 in the Brewers batting order. And no Ryan Braun in the lineup tonight. If you're just getting home from work and you put in a full day, you haven't had time to catch some of the news. The Brewers making a lot of headlines today. First introducing their new general manager, David Stearns. And then Ryan Braun revealed that he'll need back surgery at the end of the year. It's a minor procedure to alleviate pain from a herniated disc. He's still active and he's still available. But they're being very cautious with Ryan Braun, but he is going to have a procedure. As Sophia reported, right after the season ends, it'll take him about a month to recover.
Yeah, probably won't see much of Ryan the rest of the way.
Also, Jimmy Nelson shut down for the rest of the year. Neurologist ending his season after he took that line drive to the head. So that's the news from this Monday, beginning the last 2 weeks of the regular season. And the Brewers starting a 3-city road trip. 3 in Chicago here at Wrigley, and then 4 in St. Louis, followed by 3 in San Diego. And then the last 3 games of the year will be against the Cubs at Miller Park, October 2, 3, and 4. And then we close it up, put the tarp down, and get the snow blowers gassed up.
You got one ready?
Oh yeah, 2 of them. High fly ball into center field, hit pretty well. Fowler will run it down. He ran right to the spot, and Jeanette is retired.
Man, not much money out there tonight. I mean, you got a little bit of a little cooler out tonight. The wind is blowing to left, but you've seen a couple of balls that the Brewers have hit tonight that have died out there in center field.
At the plate, presented by Wendy's for Logan Schaefer tonight. Had a single and a run scored in the first. Struck out his last time up. Cubs have committed 3 errors, but only one of those errors led to a run. That was a throwing error with Schaefer at first base. Hamels trying to pick him off, and he threw it away. Jeanette scored. Domingo Santana drove in Schaefer with a 2-out RBI single in that first inning, but that's been it. Brewers have had base runners in every inning, and they've had a runner in scoring position in every inning. Schaefer, a big cut and a miss.
It's funny how that 91-mile-an-hour fastball gets by hitters. It's all the off-speed stuff that he flips up there for strikes.
Well, he's got a Schaefer in a 3-2 count. And Schaefer fouls that one away. He was late on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Jason Hamill. Hamill, last time we were here, remember, was taken out of a game. He was not happy either. Taken out of a game in the 6th inning. Joe Maddon doesn't normally let his pitchers face the batting order for the 3rd time if you're not Lester or Arrieta. Schaefer works the walk here in the 5th inning, so we're entering the 3rd time through the batting order. And here comes Adam Lind, and Joe Maddon's already checking his card, and out to the mound comes Chris Bosio. That's Trevor Cahill loosening in the bullpen.
Yeah, Cahill's been a nice pickup and a nice addition to this Cubs pen. Guy that can make starts for you. Long reliever. And Jason Hamill just hasn't been able to eat up innings like he did early in the season. Mentioned he only went 3 2/3 his last time out against the Pirates.
Adam Lind all smiles. He's still looking for his 20th homer of the year. He's sitting on 19 on the Powerball home run leaderboard. And Braun with the 25 homer season. Lind tonight reached on an error and has struck out. Now he bats with Schaefer at first. Brewers have been running a little bit here tonight. Santana and Perez with stolen bases. Let's see if they want to run with Schaefer at first. He's very fast. Well, the way Cahill is getting loose in the bullpen, I'd venture to guess that if Lind reaches base, Madden will pull the plug on him.
Yeah, leash is going to be pretty short. He's getting ready in a hurry down there in the pen.
Got a lot of relievers down in that bullpen anyway. The Cubs are carrying 13 relievers.
And 4 of those 13 are left-handers.
Normally you carry 7 or 8. 13 down there.
Well,
Lynn takes a strike.
Yeah, they're not going to be caught short-handed.
Brewers didn't really call up many. They have 9 relievers. They have 7 bench players. So, you know, there's been 3 or 4 call-ups. But what's interesting about the Brewers bench, half of them aren't available tonight.
Right. There's only 4 available.
Lind in the air, left field. That ball's hit well. Long run, and that ball's up and out of here. A home run for Adam Lind. Boy, what a quick strike that was as Lind goes opposite field. A 2-run shot, home run number 20. And we are all tied at 4.
Yeah, mentioned that the wind's blowing out to left field, and finally Adam Lind, somebody able to use the wind to their advantage. Boy, taken out, and he hit that one like a right-handed pull hitter. Incredible power by Lind. He let the ball travel, put a good swing on it, and it carried out of here. Yep, and the Brewers able to take a 1-run lead. That fastball got a little bit too much of the plate, and Lind hit it hard to left.
20 bombs for Adam Lind. 86 runs batted in now. A 2-run homer that ties the game. Yeah, we saw Joe Madden checking his card. You know, he was thinking about making a move there. Now with the bases empty, he'll let it ride with Davis, who fouls it away. And Davis in a 1-1 count.
Yeah, 22nd home run allowed by Jason Hamill this year.
Davis pops it up mile high in the infield. Rizzo will call it, and he's got it for the out. Out number 2.
And Montero looking around for help right away when that ball went up into the air. He got the help. Rizzo able to squeeze it for the out.
I mean, he was moving his way toward the ball, but he really didn't have his heart in it.
No intention of catching it.
I don't blame him. Those are hard. Here's Santana, first ball swinging. Hard part for a catcher is, right, you gotta go out there and turn around. You can't, the way the ball spins, you can't play it with your back to the crowd.
Man, pop-ups like that always come back to the infield. Makes it difficult when you have your body facing toward the outfield. The ball's actually going to be going away from you. Rizzo bailed him out. That was one of our instructionals back in the old days. I know you watched every one of those.
Everybody come out all right on that, or no foul balls to the noggin?
We didn't actually have anybody hitting pop-ups.
Oh, that'd have been fun if you'd have had the jugs machine out, shooting the pop-ups. That's what they do in spring training in Arizona.
Yeah, with a coat and tie, that'd have been fun.
Santana at a 1-2 count. 2-2. Big leaguers are never made to look so awkward than when they break out the jugs machine for pop-ups in Arizona in spring training.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
And they aren't just pop-ups that you might see in a game. These are, I don't know what, 50% higher. I mean, I think the thing's set on 90 miles an hour.
With funny spin on it. Sometimes they go up there and knuckle.
Yeah, that's right. Santana, right field. Hit pretty well, but wrong direction as Coughlin makes the play to end the inning. However, Adam Lind with his second home run at Wrigley Field of his career. Both coming this year. This one ties it at 4.
The Brewers Community Foundation encourages all fans to purchase the season-ending 50/50 raffle tickets. Proceeds from ticket sales provide critically needed support for quality nonprofits throughout Milwaukee. You can be a part of making a difference and take a chance taking home 50% of the day's ticket sales. So our finale will be against the Cubs at Miller Park, and you can buy those tickets from the sellers in the bright orange shirts.
Well done, Sophia. Good memory. 4-4 game now. Brand new one as Bryant leads off with a base hit. Chris Bryant singles into left. He's 2 out of 3 tonight.
Yeah, he's been red hot last 6 games. He's seeing it well. Cubs are having a lot of fun out in the ballpark. Why wouldn't they, right? It's been a while since we've seen Wrigley Field this energized.
Yeah, it's great.
They are fired up. Can only imagine what it was like here over the weekend. Good enthusiasm for a Monday night.
Yeah.
And Brian able to sneak one out of the reach of Segura.
Here's Anthony Rizzo now. You know, Rocky, look at this Cubs team. And, you know, we've seen the Pirates a lot, the Cardinals a lot, seen the Dodgers and the Mets in the National League. And while each team has their strength, and all 5 of those teams have their weaknesses as well. There's no real dominant team in my eyes. Snap throw to first. Bryant gets back. For me, the Cubs. You mentioned the errors, though. See, that's one area that concerns you a little bit. But other than that, and their inexperience, this team has a legitimate chance to win a World Series this year, as legitimate as any team in baseball.
Well, when you consider they have Arrieta and John Lester at the top of the rotation, I mean, that's a difference maker. You know, I think the Cardinals overall have the better pitching. I think their bullpen is a little bit more solid than that of the Cubs.
Rizzo, base hit down the right field line. Long run, Santana. He's got it. And Bryant's going to be held around third. A last minute stop sign put up there by Gary Jones, the third base coach. And the Cubs are in business again with their two horses offensively, Bryant and Rizzo.
Right, it really is amazing how Rizzo is able to keep that ball fair. I mean, he's standing right on top of home plate. You know, Willie trying to get one in on him. He can't do it. He just can't jam this guy. And not only does he hit it hard in there, but he's able to keep it fair. Look at the way he pops those hips open. You know, the knob of the bat leaves the barrel, and that rips that one right down the right field line. A lot of guys are going to get the barrel on that pitch, but hook it foul. Well, Chris Bryant thinking he's going to be able to score, but he got a stop sign very late. I guess that's what you do. Nobody out. You don't want to make the first out at home plate.
Well, the Cubs sensing a big inning here. Peralta had a nice tidy inning in the fourth. Every other inning there has been traffic. Got started well in the first, but a 3-run second, another run in the third, and now 2 on with nobody out here in the fifth. And Castro into left field. That's going to be plenty deep. Schaefer's going to make the catch. And the long throw in is late. Bryant scores. Starlin Castro wasting no time. It's a sacrifice fly. And the Cubs quickly regain the lead 5-4.
And Castro is strong enough on a breaking pitch out on his front foot to hit it deep enough to score the run. Chris Davis giving way to Logan Schaefer, the better of the two throwing arms in the outfield, to see if he can't cut that run down. Couldn't do it.
So 1 away, Rizzo at second, and here is Montero. Pick-off play at second base, close, but Rizzo's back.
But I think, you know, picking up on the discussion we were just talking about, I think right now, this point in time, I think the Cubs have a better overall ball club. I mean, swinging the bats, they're pitching, they're starting pitching. I think the defense is going to tighten up as the season goes on. I'm not sure how, but I think it will.
Montero lines one to right. That's a base hit coming around Rizzo. The throw from Santana is late. Rizzo's in. RBI single, Miguel Montero, and it is 6-4 Chicago.
A lot of first pitch attacking by the Cubs in this inning. Castro on the first pitch. Bryant able to get a base hit to start the inning. And now first pitch to Montero, line drive into right. Now the Brewers finally have activity out in that bullpen. It has been a rough stretch for Willie Peralta. It has not been very easy for him tonight.
Addison Russell, who's walked twice, has now seen 10 pitches. He has yet to swing. Talented young shortstop. Cubs got him from the Oakland Athletics last year. He's part of that Samardzija deal. Perfectly named to be the Chicago Cubs shortstop, right? Addison. Ballpark on the corner of Clark and Addison. A wave and a miss. 0-2 the count. Russell came with a couple of minor leaguers. Early July deal last year. There's a swing and a miss. Peralta strikes him out. So after 2 walks, this time Russell strikes out.
And Willie able to get the slider over for strikes. I had Russell out in front. Completely fooled him after having a difficult time with that pitch. Gets 2 strikes on him, gets him to chase a pitch out of the strike zone. And you see the grip, you see the dot on it, and good block by Maldonado.
2 outs in the inning. Montero at first base. And Tommy La Stella pinch hitting for Jason Hamill. Hamill in line for the win now. Gave up the lead last inning on the 2-run homer by Lynn, but the Cubs get it right back. Think about the Cubs trade Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill for 3 players. They get Addison Russell in return, who looks like a franchise shortstop. There's a liner to left, a base hit. Davis able to cut it off, and Montero on his way to third base.
I can't imagine Craig Counsell sticking much longer with Willie Peralta here tonight. It has been rough. 8 hits now, 5 runs in, 6 runs in, I should say, and looks like that's going to be the end of the line for Willie. Another short start by the Brewers starting rotation, and once again a lot of pressure on the bullpen.
So Peralta cannot get through 5, and this troubling season for Willie Peralta continues. Counsell is going to make a double switch. Shane Peterson will enter. And Tyler Thornburg is coming in to pitch. We'll take a break. We'll set them all up. Cubs lead 6-4. Pitching change at Wrigley. Homer in the 5th inning, and then the Cubs come back in the home half with 2 runs threatening here with runners at the corners, and the double switch in play. Shane Peterson takes over for Santana in right field. Tyler Thornburg will come on to pitch.
Yeah, Thornburg last pitched on Friday against the Reds, gave up a couple of runs in an inning and 2/3. They gave up a home run to Jason Bourgeois. 0-2 at a 3.22 ERA and 16 appearances since rejoining the ball club.
Chris Coughlin will bat, 9th place hitter in the Cubs lineup. Rizzo and Bryant have been the catalyst tonight. They've combined to go 4 for 5 with a walk and 4 runs scored. As Coughlin takes a curveball strike. That's the real difference for the Cubs is the 1-2 punch on the mound in Lester and Arrieta. Arrieta's got a chance to win a Cy Young Award this year. He and Zach Greinke are in that chase. And then you've got the 1-2 punch offensively. It reminds me of when the Brewers had Braun and Fielder both going at their best in 2011. Because not only do you get great production and you get those terrific clutch hitters in your 3 and 4 spot, but it puts everybody else in a role. And when you're in a role and you're not counted on to drive in runs, that's when you can thrive. Guys like Castro and Montero, Chris Coughlin, even when he plays. Schwarber gets to stay under the radar as far as the pressure at bats.
Yeah, the role players cannot be, expected to be run producers every single night. It's going to happen from time to time, but when the big boys are getting their job done, it relaxes everybody else in the lineup. It's just the way it goes. And
that's why you see on a night like this, when Rizzo and Bryant are having all of this success, guys like Montero free and easy at the plate.
There's men on base when these other guys come up. Pitcher's got pressure on him. He's making mistakes.
2 outs, 2-2 the count on Coughlin. Thornburg trying to get through this mess. And a ground ball foul.
Well, they say hitting's contagious, but I would tell you that it's more or less the pressure is on the pitcher to throw strikes when there's men on base. You get the crowd involved, and that's when they make mistakes. Pressure's on, you make a mistake and it costs you some runs, and that's when it happens. Hitters like Coughlin and those other guys, they get good pitches to hit.
A line drive caught at second. Jeanette makes the play to end the inning. Well, the Cubs get 2 more on 4 hits. They lead it once again, 6-4. And 6-4 as we go to the 6th inning. Swapping 2-run innings. Our Carsuit.com trivia. Who are the 3 pitchers in MLB history to go unbeaten against the Brewers? Minimum of 10 starts on that list. And there's some interesting names on the list. Kurt Young, the Oakland Athletics pitching coach, was 7-0. Chan Ho Park never lost. Jason Hamill is currently 7-0, and he's got a chance to go to 8-0 with a victory here tonight, and he is in line for the win.
I faced Kurt Young, nasty left-hander. Hey, good stuff. Hey, Trevor Cahill has been pretty nasty for the Cubs. He's been a nice addition. He was a September call-up. Signed a minor league contract with the Cubs back on August 18th. Has a 154 earned run average in 4 appearances. Actually pick up a win against the Cardinals back on the 19th. 3 1/3 scoreless for Cahill in that game. So he's been a big shot in the arm in that Cubs bullpen.
He really struggled for the Atlanta Braves and has found new life That's something that Joe Madden has prided himself on over the years. They've been able to pick up pieces. You never want to call a human being a scrap piece, but in baseball terms, players that have struggled elsewhere, maybe at the end of the line or unable to find their game, and yet Madden has been able to resurrect a number of careers throughout the years. Segura lines one to right, and that is going to get by Coughlin. A late dive for it, and that's going to result in a leadoff double for Gene Segura.
Coughlin was fortunate that he was able to knock that ball down just enough to keep it close. Well, if he doesn't touch it, I think Segura might be able to circle the bases. That's pretty deep out there in the corner here at Wrigley. Right there, almost got it right off the end of the gloves. If he comes up empty on that, that ball's going to be all the way down in the corner.
The throw came up and hit Segura's.
Hit him in the helmet?
Yeah, hit him in the helmet, I think. So double number 14 to go along with his 5 homers. He's at second to start the inning, and here's the tying run at the plate. Hernan Perez. Chopper to third base. That'll roll foul. See where it got him.
Shoulder, then helmet.
Shoulder, ear, helmet. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. Tough kid, Gene Segura. He's been hit in the head a couple of times. Nice got hit in the head here at Wrigley, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Right off the bill of the cap.
Perez trying to drive one in. Got some offense going tonight. Cahill with that sinker.
Yeah, sinker, slider, changeup for Trevor Cahill.
Another former Oakland Athletic. Hamill spent some time at Oakland. Addison Russell was an Oakland Athletic prospect. Now Cahill strikes out Perez. Well, we got one last update from the Biloxi Shuckers. Not good news tonight, Sophia, huh?
No, it's not. Their magical season has come to an end. They do drop Game 5, 4-0. That's your final. So Chattanooga wins the series. Jorge Lopez, you see the line, 3 innings, 3 runs for him. Brett Phillips did go 2 for 4 with the double. So that big number, 0 for 6, couldn't come up with a timely hit tonight.
All right, thanks, Sophia, for keeping an eye on that for us during this entire playoff run for the Biloxi team.
Good season for him. They should be congratulated.
54-game road trip to start the year.
Yeah. 1 game short.
Both of those names on that graphic, Jorge Lopez and Brett Phillips, certainly have big league potential. Maldonado, a little jam shot, and that's going to be caught by Russell for the second out of the inning.
Yeah, we'll see. Tomorrow maybe we'll get some news as to when and if some of those guys might come up. Maybe one of those 2 guys or both.
Madden taking a walk to the mound. He'll make a pitching change. He has 12 other relievers to choose from. And he's going to go with his left-hander, Clayton Richard. Cahill's out. We'll set up Richard right after this. second base, and Madden's going to play matchup. Shane Peterson came in on a double switch last inning, so he's going to go for his left-hander Clayton Richard.
Four straight lefties. Yep, 4 straight lefties coming up. Peterson, Jeanette, Schaefer, and Lynn. So that's why he brings in the left-hander. Yeah, got Clayton Richard from the Pirates. He's done a nice job since coming over to Chicago.
Little tapper. Richard, very good athlete, makes a play, inning over, and the Brewers can't do anything with a leadoff double.
Cubs with a 6-4 lead, and Brewers on Deck 2016 is Sunday, January 31st at the Wisconsin Center in downtown Milwaukee. If you purchase tickets for the Crew's annual Fan Fest by December 1st, you get a free ticket voucher for select 2016 April home games. For details, go to brewers.com/on-deck.
It'll be here before you know it. Strike call to Dexter Fowler to start the inning for Tyler Thornburg. It's just 4 months away, Rob.
It's going to go like that. I just snapped my fingers.
Like that. I just snapped mine.
Yeah.
Whoa. Buzz bomb in there.
Yep, up and in. Fowler trying to cover the outside corner, almost ate one.
2 balls and a strike. 2-2 now.
Fastball up and in. Changeup gets him on a swing and a miss.
And a shot right to Lynn. Nice easy hop for him. 1 away. You know who's here tonight, Brock?
Norm. George Wendt.
Yeah, George Wendt.
It's right next to us in the radio booth.
And then I assume he's going to be singing the 7th inning stretch. So do you think everywhere he goes people yell out Norm?
No doubt. I'm gonna.
I'm waiting for my chance also.
I'm gonna make a sign and plaster it up against the
But you got to spell it out phonetically. Get N-A-W-M.
Nami.
Nom. There's a whole generation of fans listening right now as Lynn makes a nice play, a little pirouette, hits Thornburg on the run for the second out.
No idea who we're talking about.
No idea who Norm is.
Well, they're missing out.
Including our two young producers, Brent Reland and Brad Weimer. Now, David Stearns is the new GM, and he went to Harvard, but he's only 30, so it's possible he might not know who Norm is.
Oh, he knows.
There's Norm. What a great show that was. That's by the way, you can't see him well, but that's Tim Kazurinsky from
Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Also one of my favorites.
Recognized him.
And the world famous Ron Coomer is down below conducting it's hard to interview somebody who's behind you.
Yeah, but they're doing it.
You can't, make eye contact. And
he's doing it.
Chris Bryant, high fly ball, center field, will stay in the ballpark. Maybe in the middle of the summer, but not tonight. And Thornburg with a 3 up, 3 down inning. Get ready, Rock. He's going to walk down the hallway.
I got my sign.
No! Every day.
Everybody goes in to see you.
Saying hello to Bob Uecker. Joe Block. Look at Joe Block pushing his way in there. Tim Kazurinsky. And then these guys walk on down right behind us. Nobody stops in here to say hello.
You see, we're busy. We got headsets on. We're not having any
wearing
fun.
ties.
Yeah, right. Who wants to come in with a bunch of
yell out his name.
couple of guys that have ties on?
Nom. Oh, there. Thank you. He acknowledges. It's all good fun at Wrigley Field.
It's just not a very relaxed looking booth with ties on, is it? I mean,
it's not inviting at all.
Norm's not coming in.
No, he's wearing a jersey.
He doesn't even
shorts,
own a tie.
And black socks with tennis shoes.
Right.
And we're in ties. There's a line shot, a base hit. Scooter Gennett with a single. His second hit of the day. So Clayton Richard brought on to face this string of left-handers. Retired Peterson to end the inning, but gives up a single to Gennett, and now he'll face Logan Schaefer.
Yeah, activity down in the Cubs bullpen. So once Richard gets through this left-handed group of hitters, it's probably going to be done for him once he hits Chris Davis in the batting order.
Whoa, almost hit him. Takes a big bounce. And Gennett's on his way to third now. He slides and he is out at third base. That was a heck of a play by Bryant. Man.
And Dana DeMute, third base umpire on the call. Well, you got to make sure you're going to make it with nobody out. Now, you love the hustle, but when you're down by a couple of runs, you certainly don't want to make the first out at third base. You never do, but particularly when you're down. latter part of the ball game.
Jeanette is convinced he was safe. Let's take a look here.
And this pitch not even close. It hits that brick wall behind home plate. And a dive. Did he get him or didn't he?
Scooter thinks he's safe. This will be a great look at it here. Oh, Montero's leg is right in the shot. And so let's see here if we can see this better. Wow.
I tell you, it's going to be close.
It's going to be hard to get that one overturned. The definitive shot would have clearly shown safer out, but Montero not TV friendly.
No, he's
put his leg right in the middle of it.
As if he knew that the replay was going to be more difficult. I mean, that was the only real angle, that the one that Montero was in the way.
Yeah. Maybe this one.
Maybe this. Looks safe.
Gosh. I mean, it's just bang, bang.
Hard to tell that angle. Montero's in the way. The other one, the one we just saw, was the more definitive angle, I think.
Yeah, where does he first tag him? Did he get him on the hand or on the elbow? I think that's what you could.
This is the one right here.
Probably piece together.
This is where it looks like Jeanette has the bag right there, and then the tag comes.
Yeah, you know, you're right. There's no, but just by the way Brian's hand moved across it.
Right.
Unless he caught him on the finger, and I'm not sure you could tell.
Got him on the top. Got him on the top of the hand, and then you know, I think Scooter's hand was on there, but we'll see. That last angle is the best one, I think.
Well, it'll be a wild pitch, and we'll see if there is an out at third base. It was a heck of a play by Bryant. You got to remember, this would have been a play he would have never have made in the old Wrigley Field surface, because remember how much it sloped off.
Yeah,
and there was a huge crown in the middle of the field for runoff, so he'd have had to literally go uphill to try to make that play.
And plus the ball would have been rolling toward the dugout anyway with the hill.
But he made a decision, ran over, picked it up, stopped, and then was quick to the bag.
I guess the only question is there enough to overturn it? That's going to be the big question.
They've had a couple of strange plays go to replay challenge. Had the ground ball, the double off the bag. Run would not have counted, but was overturned. 3 Cubs errors tonight, only one of them leading to a run. And now this Jeanette play, trying to go from first to third on a wild pitch. Decision coming. And out.
Yeah, see, just not enough there. And yep, that's the way it goes. I mean, that's a good gamble for Craig Counsell because he did look safe, but not enough. The call on the field stands not confirmed, so there's not enough to overturn the call. That's too bad.
Now, when you hear language like stands, that means that all of the replays that they have, they weren't able to come up with it. And now Jeanette looking at his hand. So 1 away, and Schaefer fouls that one off his foot. Thing is, if the pitch wasn't so bad, if it was just a normal pitch, Schaefer trying to drop a bunt down, it's possible that the Brewers could have a runner in scoring position here with.
And that's the thing. I mean, game situations will dictate, you know, your aggressiveness on the bases, and you never ever want to make the first out at third base. That's something to keep in mind. You like the hustle and the determination by Jeanette, but just stay at second base. You're already in scoring position. Your run only gets you to within 1 run, and if he had to do over again, he probably stayed at second.
And a drive into right field, but on the run is Coughlin, and he's got it for out number 2. Schaefer hit it sharply.
Yeah. Richard's not fooling any of these lefties, is he?
Here is Adam Lind. I would imagine the last hitter for Richard. Justin Grimm is ready in the Cubs bullpen. Lind with his 20th homer of the season, his last time up. Opposite field bomb out of here. Powerball number 20. 5 20-homer seasons for Lind in his career. As he flies out to center field to end the inning. Clayton Richard gives Joe Madden and the Cubs 4 outs.
Stone Harbor Pub in Sturgeon Bay. If they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours, they get 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to an April or May 2016 Brewers home game. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite. You been to Door County?
Not yet.
Still haven't gone?
Not yet. Just got here.
10 years. Haven't been.
I'm waiting for Kevin Harlan to allow me to use his Lake Michigan house. Cesar Jimenez will come on to pitch for the Brewers. So far he hasn't offered yet.
No, you just don't want to whip out and get a hotel.
I don't think I can do that.
Going up there in October, Door County, Sturgeon Bay. Well, Cesar Jimenez last pitched on Saturday against the Reds, tossed a scoreless inning, couple of strikeouts. He's given up a run in only one of his 15 appearances so far with the Brewers.
Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant both have had big nights tonight. Rizzo has been on all 3 times with 2 hits and a walk. He scored twice. Bryant's scored twice with 2 hits. Cubs lead 6-4. Playing in the bottom of the 7th inning at Wrigley. Rizzo, Castro, Montero coming up. They've all done damage tonight. Tough night for Willie Peralta. Cannot get through the 5th inning. Thornburg goes an inning and a third tonight. And now Jimenez on to work the 7th. Peralta went 4 2/3 with 6 earned runs allowed. His ERA up to 4.72. On the hook for the loss. Rizzo turns another one around. You just can't beat him inside right now. Anthony Rizzo singles his 4th trip on the bases, his 3rd hit.
Never could beat him inside. It looked like Jimenez was able to get him on the handle, but strong enough to muscle it into right field. Very quick hands, and he's got that approach where he's able to keep that ball fair. It's tough to miss in off the plate, not hit Rizzo. Left it out over the plate just enough for him to be able to muscle it into right.
And here's Castro now. Castro has driven in 2 tonight. Had a sac fly his last time up. Was hit by a pitch in the 3rd inning. His first time up, he doubled in a run. Last 25 games, he's hit over 400. By the way, that base hit by Rizzo against Jimenez, another hit against a left-handed pitcher. Rizzo is now hitting .311 against lefties. That will serve him well when you get into the postseason and you're typically dealing with very good left-handers out of the bullpen. One of the things that helps you get there. I remember the Orioles last year had Andrew Miller just dominated out of the bullpen. He was a big reason why the Orioles swept the Tigers. Shutting down the offense, especially neutralizing the big left-handed power bats.
And the left-handed Schwarber, Rizzo. You got Montero, Coghlan, the left-hander, and Joe Madden has them pretty well spaced out. They don't have any two together in the lineup. It makes it a little bit more difficult for manager to make his matchups late in the game.
Oh, timeout asked for and given. That was late. Castro asked for it. Home plate umpire Mike Easterbrook gave it to him. They'll usually give you one of those. Probably won't get it again. Jam shot, pop up, shallow right, and that's going to fall, a base hit. And Rizzo is going to wind it up and head to third base. Castro into second, and the Cubs on a little flare have 2 in scoring position to start this inning.
That might be a double right there for Castro. He was hustling all the way. And Scooter had a long way to go. Peterson playing deep. It couldn't get there. Well, you figure that ball's up in the air a good way, good time. It's got to be caught by somebody. Yeah, Rizzo, a good job of the base running, so he's able to get into third base once the ball gets by Peterson. And by the time Jeanette picks it up, Starlin Castro in with a double. Not even close. Nobody really close on that play, and the Cubs set up nicely with nobody out, second and third.
A couple things to remember about Peterson. He's playing on a bum knee, and the last pop-up that he tried to play ended in a violent collision in left field. So I'm sure there's a little bit of trepidation there for Peterson. He's not at 100% by any stretch. He's clutching at his right knee now. Jorge Soler pinch hitting. Cubs are looking for a knockout punch. They lead 6-4. Second and third. Soler hits for Montero.
And nobody getting loose in that Brewers bullpen with right-handers coming up.
Big bat off the bench for the Cubs tonight. Soler. And a drive. Deep center. Schaefer is back. Goodbye. 3-run home run. Jorge Soler opens it up for the Cubs. ball smoked.
Jorge Soler coming off the bench. Fastball up out over the plate, and he drills it out of here into left center. Boy, that ball was hammered out there.
9th homer of the year for Soler. Jimenez knew it right away. And it is now 9-4 Chicago.
There's a difference when you're not in a pennant race, and Craig Counsell electing to keep Jimenez out there and not get a right-hander up. This all goes back to the short starts by this starting rotation. It's been going on now for a good stretch. Guys just not available. I mean, you just can't go to these guys every night in the 5th inning. 5th, 6th inning, the bullpen's been involved, and this is the result.
Addison Russell with a chopper to third base. Perez has a good strong arm, and Lind able to get the tag on him as Russell went somersaulting past the bag. Good play by Lind with a catch and a tag as Russell went by. And there is the first out of the inning. The catch
and the tag right above the knee. And Addison Russell lucky he didn't hurt something.
Ooh, banged his head on the ground. The helmet came off and then hit his head hard. That's not soft dirt out there either. That's pretty well packed up. Yeah, check on him, make sure he's all right.
Pinch hitters have been pretty good tonight for the Cubs, huh? Listella, a base hit. Now Soler with a 3-run homer.
And here's another pinch hitter, Austin Jackson. At one time was the center fielder of the future for the Chicago Cubs. Cubs got Jackson from the Mariners. This is inside. Jackson, I believe I said the center field of the future for the Cubs was the Tigers. I beg your pardon. Part of that Granderson deal. And then traded from Detroit to the Mariners. A lot of changes in Seattle. They've got a general manager search going as well. Jack Zarenzik, former Brewers amateur scouting director, let go. Brought Jackson from the Tigers to the Mariners. And there's a swing and a miss.
There's going to be a lot of general manager jobs being filled in the offseason. There's going to be a ton of them, maybe 10. That's why Mark Atanasio wanted to jump on David Stearns as quick as he did. Highly sought after. You figure the Brewers weren't the only team he was talking to. That's a good get. Good pickup.
Here's Javier Baez. Version 2.0 for Baez. Lit the world on fire when he came up last year. And then the strikeouts really started to mount. Baez playing in just his 18th game for the Cubs.
Yeah, before the game, Joe Madden raving about the way he's been playing defense. Still going to swing and miss a little bit, but he's got pretty good power. Terrific defender.
And a drive into left field. Davis will look up. That is into the ivy, and Baez into second base. He's got tremendous power, and the pinch hitters keep it going for the Cubs. Third pinch hitter used in this inning. They've gotten a 3-run homer and now a double.
Remember LaStella with a base hit in the 5th inning off the bench. That's how strong he is. He hooks it. Pitch away from, hooks it, knocks it off the wall out and left. Rough inning for Cesar Jimenez. Still no activity in that Brewers pen.
Baez trying to make this postseason roster for the Cubs. Fowler, switch hitter, right back to Jimenez. And the side is retired, but big damage done. Jorge Soler. 3-run home run and a pinch hit at bat. It's 9-4 Cubs. By Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. And by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly.
Well, 9-4 Cubs as we head to the 8th inning here at Wrigley Field. It's the Brewers' final all-fan giveaway this season on Sunday, October 4th. As all fans at Miller Park to see the crew close out the year against the Chicago Cubs. We'll get a free Brewers retro knit cap. For details, go to Brewers.com today.
New pitcher is Tommy Hunter. And the Cubs have a new catcher. Montero pinch hit for by Soler. That proves to be a wise move by Joe Madden. Soler hit the 3-run home run. So Tommy Hunter will pitch to David Ross here. Austin Jackson will stay in and play right field, and Baez will remain in the game and play second base. So you got 4 changes for the Cubs defensively. There's Austin Jackson. And Davis leads the way. Got Jason Rogers due to hit next. Pitcher spot coming up. Baez, after his double, will stay in to play second base. And there's the veteran Ross, who is normally back there for John Lester. Now they're in the top of the 9th in St. Louis. The Cardinals have Rosenthal on the mound and a 2-1 lead over the Reds. Pirates lead Colorado in Denver 6-3. High fly ball center field. Fowler plays shallow, and that one is over his head and out of the ballpark. Chris Davis launching one out of here. It didn't look like it had enough, but it certainly does.
It's the way he hits them. They just keep going. They just don't want to come down. I mean, Davis just continues his home run barrage with a deep fly into center field. Well, he didn't have that sound to it, but the way he hits him, he gets that backspin. They just keep going. A breaking pitch from Tommy Hunter, and Chris Davis knocks one out of here. One of those high, majestic home runs. The fly balls just don't want to come down.
Most of the fly balls that we've seen tonight from right center over to right field have been knocked down a little bit. It's a crosswind blowing from the right field foul pole across to the left field pole, but Davis defies it. 23rd homer, now 59 runs batted in.
He's got a shot to lead the club in home runs this year.
After missing a month with a knee injury and knee surgery.
And even more time not playing.
Right. So Rogers pinch hitting in the pitcher spot, which is now the 5th spot in the lineup after a double switch earlier. That one's on the ground to Russell. Nice easy hop for him. Rogers is retired. Gene Segura. And he takes a ball low. Right now, Jason Hamill in line for the win. 5 innings, 4 runs, 3 earned. Peralta is on the hook for the loss. 6 earned runs in 4 2/3. Cesar Jimenez works an inning, gives up 4 hits and 3 earned runs. All runs coming on one swing of Jorge Soler's bat. Hunter is the 4th pitcher used. Still has a good fastball. Look out up there. Slashes it foul. Segura had a hit his last time up. Double into right. Coughlin tried to make a diving catch, a forward dive. He missed it. And Segura was able to get to second base. Cardinals Reds go final 2-1 St. Louis. Broxton got the win. That comeback by the Cardinals. Rosenthal saved number 47. Segura strikes out. The ball gets away. And Ross able to secure it at first. So 2-men are out. First strikeout for Hunter. Cardinals got 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning in that game to win it 2-1.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yep. J.J. Hoover gave it up.
They still don't hit, but they continue to win. That's a team that has just figured out ways to win all season long, really. I mean, with all the injuries they've had, and offense really hasn't been there, but they do have the pitching, they have the defense. What's that, 94 wins?
St. Louis is now 94-56. Best record in the big leagues. Matter of fact, the Cubs have the 3rd best record in the major leagues. Unfortunately, the 2 teams ahead of them are in the same division. You got the Cardinals with 94 wins. The Pirates have a lead tonight, 6-3 in Denver over the Rockies. They're looking for their 90th win. Most wins by an American League team. The Kansas City Royals 87 wins, and Kansas City has a magic number of 3 right now over the Twins to win the division. Perez pops it up. And Fowler's going to call it and catch it to end the inning. But a Chris Davis home run defying the wind here at Wrigley. Number 23 for Davis. The home run binge continues for KD.
We're here live for Brewers Live postgame coming up right after the ball game, and one of the big storylines, of course, is new general manager for the Milwaukee Brewers, Davey, and we're going to devote a whole segment to him and go through some of the press conference, and that's going to air after the Brewers Live as well. But your impressions?
Well, I think it was a good move. They hired him a lot quicker than I thought was going to be hired, but I think it's a smart move, a young man, and they're going to go in the right direction.
And David Stern's only 30 years old, but we'll hear from him. Telly had a nice interview with him after the press conference this afternoon, and we've got that for you. We'll rehash this ball game as well. Hear from Craig Counsell all coming up. Brewers Live post game from Wrigley Field, guys.
All right, Craig and Davey, thanks. We call him Cravey. And Cravey will be on the mound tomorrow, too. That's a story.
I love having him on site, don't you?
Get a start tomorrow in the vacated spot. And so a bullpen day tomorrow, says Craig Counsell. David Goforth is on the mound here in the Chicago 8th inning.
Which is why you don't want to go too deep into your bullpen tonight. And that's why you really needed a long start out of Willie Peralta. 7 innings would have been nice. Not able to get through the 5th.
And how many Biloxi Shuckers are raising their hand right now? I'm available. Our
pitch.
Season's over.
I'm ready.
Biloxi lost tonight. The Brewers AA team. They had a great season. Lost in the Southern League Championship game. The final game to Chattanooga. But congratulations on a great season. Some of the best prospects in the big leagues are at that Biloxi level in AA. Kyle Schwarber, he's been quiet tonight, but in that 0 for 4 he has hit 2 rockets for outs, and the Cubs haven't needed him. Joe Maddon said he is not worried about the lack of experience for these Cubs players, not just pennant race experience, but just big league experience overall.
I don't think anybody's talking about that right now. Not with the way these guys are playing. I think that's something that you don't have to worry too much about. They have passed that test.
Joe Maddon's answer to that question is, I'm not worried about how they're going to perform. They're gamers. They're highly talented players. What I am worried about is keeping them fresh. And so doing things like occasional days off, rotating players as Bryant into center field, that's going to fall a base hit. And a throw to third is over the head of Perez. That's going to allow Schwarber to advance, or rather Bryant to advance. And just not a good look. We appreciate the effort. Schaefer trying to make something out of nothing, though.
Yeah, you're better off just throwing it into second base and keeping the double play in order. Well, yet another base hit for Chris Bryant, his third tonight. Dumps that one into center field. You can see how deep Logan Schaefer is. An ill-advised throw airmails everybody, and because of that, Bryant able to get into second base. Not a good throw, not a good decision.
So Bryant with 3 singles tonight ahead of Rizzo. And they're going to walk Rizzo to load him up with nobody out. Joe Maddon's been rotating players, especially these young players. He's giving them days off, and he's giving them early work off. So every day, typically, a big league team will come out. They'll, for a 7 o'clock game, they'll take batting practice about 4:30 or thereabouts, and get all your work in, infield work, fungos, whatever it may be, your batting practice. Maddon hadn't been doing that. He hasn't been at home. He's been ordering his players to show up late to the ballpark, and late for them is about 3 or 4 o'clock. And so
and they still get swings in the cage, so it's not like they're coming from the clubhouse onto the field without doing anything. They're still getting a few swings, but just not that everyday routine out on the field, so they are staying fresh.
My only question for that would be the defensive side of it, because you're not getting the ground balls, the reps, the rhythm. Not that these guys can't field a ground ball at this point, but you know, I don't know. It's an interesting study on what keeps you sharp.
Man, a lot of errors are due to fatigue.
Good point.
Some are.
Matt Caesar will pinch hit. Madden's used a lot of them tonight. Pinch hitters are 3 for 4, a single, a double, and a homer. This is the 5th pinch hit appearance. And when you have a bench of 8 players, you can roll them out there inning after inning. Madden used 3 pinch hitters last inning. David Goforth trying to get through this 8th inning. The Brewers are down 4, and the Cubs putting up another threat. Bases loaded, nobody out. Second time tonight they've had the bases loaded. Cubs have banged out 13 hits tonight, scoring 9 runs. Fowler's driven in 2. Starlin Castro has 2 runs batted in. Soler hit a 3-run homer. That might be the one that knocks the Brewers out of this one. Cubs have 9 hits in 17 at-bats with men on base in this game. The fact that you're getting 17 at-bats with men on base gives you the story. Slow roller. Segura's got it coming home, and out there, a force play. Out number 1. So Caesar will reach on a fielder's choice. 6-2 on the put out at the plate. Base is still loaded, but 1 out now.
Get yourself a double play ball here.
Well, as promised earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. It comes from Harley at Miller Park. I got Harley on the left.
Yep, I agree.
Double H-Town.
No reason to agree with you, but I am.
It's all brought to you by T-Mobile. Just make sure you use that hashtag #WisDataStrongFan. Good job, Harley. Here's David Ross.
Yeah, I'm looking at these errors for the Cubs. You were talking about errors and a concern about errors. Do you know that Miguel Montero, the catcher, has 12 errors?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a ton of errors for a catcher.
I mean, I'm guessing most of those are throwing errors to second base.
And Starlin Castro with 24. So it might be a little deceiving.
I think you make the same argument for the Pirates, who lead the National League in errors committed. But Pedro Alvarez is responsible for a ton of those, almost a third of those, and he's not making plays at first base to save errors.
We've seen that against the Pirates. Yep. So the more you dive into the numbers, I think some of it makes sense.
Oh-2 pitch. 1-2 the count. Veteran catcher David Ross. Ross is still a very good catcher. His body won't let him play in an everyday role, and he's been mostly a backup throughout his career. But he does get that start behind the plate every time Lester pitches. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. Goforth with a strikeout.
They blew it right by him.
2 outs now. Goforth a chance to strand the bases loaded. Here's Addison Russell. Russell made a great play over the weekend, Saturday, to secure a win against the St. Louis Cardinals. One of the better plays of the year from a shortstop. And when you consider the elements and the stage of the game and the stage of the pennant race, this was right up there with some of the best. I mean, he caught that behind him.
Yeah, beauty, able to get up and make a nice flip over to second base to end the game.
What a talent he is.
Talking about defense, he's been solid all season. Rizzo's very good at first.
You got to think about what he achieved this year. It is rare that you supplant an all-star shortstop like Starlin Castro. Russell gave Madden no choice. Ground ball to short. Segura goes to second, and David Goforth, with the bases loaded and nobody out, able to get out of the inning with no run scoring. We go to the 9th. Book your stay now. Hang until the end at Wrigley Field. The Brewers down 4 in case you're just picking us up. AT&T U-verse rewind. Domingo Santana, a first inning 2-out RBI and a 2-run first. And then the Brewers got down 4-2 until Adam Lind with a 2-run homer in the 5th inning. Tied it at 4. Cubs came right back, scored 2 in the 5th, and then got a 3-run pinch hit home run in the 7th by Soler. Chris Davis has homered tonight. That was a leadoff home run in the 8th, his 23rd of the season. And that's where we are, 9-5, 9th inning.
That was a good start to the night for Milwaukee, but just couldn't sustain it. And the Cubs with a comfortable lead as we head to the 9th inning. Travis Wood on for the 49th time, a 5-4 record. And a 409 earned run average for the left-hander. One of 4 left-handers down in that pen.
Martin Maldonado leading the way. Got Peterson due next, and then Jeanette. And the Brewers are going to need a whole lot more to bat. Shattered bat, look out. Head of that bat went into the seats. And Maldonado is out number 1. I think everybody's all right, but that was a very scary scene down there above the.
Everybody's all right.
Yeah, looks like everybody's all right. The bat went just flying into the seats, and the net stops right about where the on-deck circle is.
That bat just taking off toward the seats. Yeah, the commotion down there is just about gentleman giving the end of that bat to a little kid down there.
Well, that's nice.
Maybe not.
Handing a child a sharp object. I was glad everybody's okay. 1-1 to Peterson. 1-2 now. Well, starting to look at some magic numbers around baseball. Cardinals' magic number is now 7. Could go to 6 if the Pirates lose, but the Pirates are leading now 6-3 in Colorado. David Price and the Blue Jays opened up a 3.5 game lead over the Yankees. Blue Jays beat the Yankees today. Figures to be some good races coming down the stretch as Peterson strikes out. The Brewers down to their last out. Well, tomorrow it is bullpen day, and it will start with Tyler Cravey making a spot start. He's looking for his first win of the season. He's 0-7. Jake Arrieta, who's making a run at a Cy Young Award. He's trying to win his 20th. It'll be his 3rd start against the Brewers. Jake Arrieta has thrown 8 innings in his last 4 starts and has a no-hitter this year. He's one of the best in the big leagues, and the Brewers are going to get up close and personal with him tomorrow. So you got that going for you.
Go out and give him a loss.
Jeanette, the last call for the Brewers. Brewers are horribly mismatched right now. If you're wondering why all these left-handed hitters are batting against left-handed pitchers, Craig Counsell doesn't have any options left on his bench. Everybody's hurt. 0-2 pitch. And it misses down and away. That's it. Cubs win. Cubs win game number 88 of the season. They go to 88-62. And a big day from Chris Bryant with 3 hits Anthony Rizzo, 3 hits and 2 walks. And those two doing big damage against the Brew Crew tonight. 9-5. Cubs win the first of this 3-game series. And that sets us up for Brewers Live. It's coming up right now. Craig Kashawn, Davey Nelson standing by down on the field here at Wrigley.
Well, plenty to talk about. Brewer general manager news. There's a new one in place. We'll hear from David Stearns on Brewers Live Post. Hear from Craig Counsell as well and give you an injury update and get you set for Game 2 when we come back.